Hello and welcome back to the end. We are back. We are ramping up production of talking about these cards so that we don't get in the same bind as last time. And I believe that I think when you're going to post this, Eddie, that the last dump is going to actually happen today. So I don't expect to catch up, but I hope to actually maybe get through the last dump. So, let's start off with Unite the Murlocs, which is the Shaman quest of summon 10 Murlocs, and your reward is Megafin. Now, Megafin is, of course, is a 5 cost, legendary, 5 cost 8/8 Murloc with a battle cry, fill your hand with random Murlocs. So, yay, Murloc Shaman. I think this is kind of interesting. It kind of means that, you know, they're not pushing Murloc Paladin for once. I think Murloc Paladin's going to go the way of the dinosaur, because it's losing a lot of its big cards. And while we'll have a few Murloc cards left, none of them really push the idea of a Murloc deck anymore. Meanwhile, Shaman has been getting some of those, starting with I think it's Bring out the finishers, I think is the name of the card.
Either bring out the finishers or call in the finishers.
I think it's call in the finishers.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very easy for Shaman to summon 10 Murlocs. I think Murlocs are going to find a home in Shaman instead of Paladin, and this just cinches it. I think those people who want to play pure Murloc decks, they're going to actually gravitate towards this class, and this is the card for them. I don't think this is going to be every Shaman, though. Everybody going, well, this is the new Shaman, or this is the new Shaman. I think Shaman's going to start diversifying and focusing on tribal decks, or very specific type of synergistic decks, which are very different from what Shaman has been doing for the past year. Yes, this means Shaman's still going to be in the meta, folks, but it means Shaman's going to be in the meta differently. And I'm all for that. I hate Murlocs with a passion, but I find this interesting. I don't think, again, every Shaman is going to be playing this, but I think there'll be a certain breed of Shaman playing this, so we will see this in the meta.
Oh yeah, most certainly. Like, I like the ideal of Unite the Murlocs. If anything, especially with one of the cards that came up recently, to be able to combo with it, I think it has a good, viable spot. I feel that it more or less will probably take off harder and faster in Wild because it has more tools and abilities there, because like you've also got like Neptulon to be able to refill your hand. You're also going to be able to churn up the board faster with, or at least the size and power of the Murlocs, with every fin is awesome. So you've got that going on. As far as the standard goes, I'm just going to make the call out now. No, Crip, this is not you play Mega Fin, you win game. I'm sorry, it's not. So,
how crazy is it that now you're talking about wild possibilities and I'm not? That used to be my wheelhouse.
I know, it's just the more or less, it's just being able to kind of like balance it out a little bit. So, but it's just, like, I consider if I pick up this card for myself or somehow pull it, I'll probably go, alright, Wild Murloc, Shaman it is, let's go, because I had fun playing it when I had the deck built. It's just, it wasn't consistent or strong enough for me, but now that I see that we've got a quest that kind of pulls and pours towards it, it's like, well, now I've got a new idea, here we go. But it's just more or less, it'll probably be something I did in the wild just for that. So, are we good on Unite the Murlocs?
Yeah.
Alright, to go into also just combo with this Murloc topic, we get the Primalfin Lookout. 3-cost, 3/2, Battle Cry. If you control another Murloc, discover a Murloc. Just all of them.
Gorilla Boss is high.
It very much does, because it does synergize. Well, I won't say synergizes with it, but it has the same sort of play that Gorilla Bot does. Again, I look at the wild opportunity with this card, because as far as like standard goes, I mean, yeah, you can grab the 3-cost, 3/3 tribal leader for the Murlocs. You could grab yourself another charger. If you would want to, you could also grab yourself Finja, just to be able to get your Murlocs out faster, but that's really up to you. And like I said, if anything, this really synergizes with the going into the wild side of things, so Bulb.
Yeah, I know and of course I've immediately made the comparison to Gorilla Bot, but to be fair, every tribe kind of needs a Discover card. Maybe not like this, but a Discover card specifically for the tribe. And by the way, we kind of have them. We have Gorilla Bot for mechs. We have another Spy Historian for dragons. We have another card we'll be eventually getting to for elementals. And by the way, there is a card for beasts called Tomb Spider. So almost every tribal has a card like this. So this is actually kind of fitting in for Murlocs. This is really good for Murlocs because it kind of legitimizes them as a proper tribe. I mean, and that pretty much focuses on the idea and pushes the idea of, guys, you can play this as a tribal synergistic deck. You know, you don't have to focus on Murlocs as a combo deck. They can be very good as a, you know, just a tribal aggressive deck. And I like it. I think this is exactly the card Murlocs need. It's a very strong Murloc card. It's a card that needs to go into every Murloc deck. And so, yeah, this is a good card.
You want to know an interesting fact?
Hmm?
Out of all of those synergistic cards that you mentioned, the only one that actually doesn't have the tribal tag to go along with its tribe was the Netherspite Historian.
Yeah, but that's dragons for you.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where it's on one end it's weird, but it's also an interesting fact.
Well, we could. I think that mainly goes into how dragons play, for the most part. That dragons have a lot of synergistic stuff that's not necessarily dragons, but it's still part of a dragon deck. It's still something you kind of need for a dragon tribal deck, and Netherspite Historian kind of works for that. So that's all I can say is I can just look at it and go, that's dragons for you.
Yep.
I'm kind of shocked that, again, I know we're not going to get to it for maybe another video or two, but I'm kind of shocked that elementals didn't go the same way.
Right.
But still, you know, all I can say is, you know, you're right there, but, you know, that's kind of how dragons work.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Kalimos Primal Lord. Kalimos is the Shaman legendary. He's an 8-cost 7/7 elemental with Battle Cry. If you played an elemental last turn, cast an elemental invocation. This is if you're playing elementals, and if you're playing elementals, you're either playing Shaman or Mage, and I think a lot of elemental players are going to go Shaman here. This is the legendary you want, not Ozrek. Again, if you have Ozrek, I think if you end up pulling Ozrek, I think you might end up ending up trying to play him. But I think if you're playing an elemental deck, you want Kalimos. Kalimos is the elemental to have, and he casts an elemental invocation. You actually get a choice. It pulls up four invocations, and you get to choose between them. Kind of like when Just Card Trueheart made it so you can choose which totem came out. You got a choice of between the four. I don't know why there's this confusion of, well, will they only pull up 3? It's like, no, they will pull up all 4, and you get to choose. And the invocations are: you have the invocation of water, which restores 12 health to your hero; the invocation of fire, which deals 6 damage to the enemy hero; the Invocation of Earth, which fills your board with 1/1 elementals, and the Invocation of Air, which deals 3 damage to all enemy minions. These are some very powerful invocations, and you pick which one you want, it happens immediately. So you pretty much judge what you need the most, and you pick it. Kalimos by himself is very strong. He's 7/7. He's 1 attack, 1 defense off from Ragnaros. So he's a very powerful body as well. He casts a very powerful effect that is very dependent on what you need at the time, and he's definitely going to be kind of like your late game push, probably your late game finisher in your elemental deck, because elementals have a lot of strong minions anyway. So yeah, he's definitely, if you're running an elemental deck, he's definitely a must-have. He's probably one of the most interesting and important legendaries in the set, and very, very interesting. If I pull up enough elementals, I'll probably try to get Kalimos and give this guy a go.
Oh my god, this card is so good. So good. I'm gonna put him in, like, that very good / meta-defining area, because especially if elementals take off, because of just how good he is. I need to be able to stabilize myself right quickly just so we can survive till we're going to late game. Water. You're almost dead. Fire. I'm not sure how much I would use Earth, because, like, sure, it's good to fill my board with little 1/1s, but unless there's something else that's going to be able to ramp those up just a little bit more, they're 1/1 bodies.
Bloodlust.
Bloodlust, right. That does give a good finisher. I give you that. And then, of course, Invocation of Air, being able to deal 3 damage to all the enemy minions. It's a smaller Flame Strike.
Yeah, but it's also more consistent than Lightning Storm.
Oh yeah, very much is. So it's just like, I have a lot of tools at my disposal, and I can just go Witch, and then go from there. I want Kalimos. I really, really do. Because he is just so good. Alright, Bulb, are we good there?
We're good.
Alright. Tol'Vir Stoneshaper. He is a 4-cost, 3/5 battle cry. If you played an elemental last turn, gain Taunt and Divine Shield. I've seen the comparisons to Sejin's Shieldmaster because of, like, everything it does, bar the Divine Shield. I think, if anything, when it comes to Tol'Vir, he's good if you don't have a, like, turn 5 elemental you want to play into because of the playing an elemental last turn. I really think he's really good when it comes to that, as well as being able to have a good body on board. The only complication that I have with him is that if you're going into turn 5 and you want to be able to still play off the elemental synergy, Tol'Vir, if we're going to just go by curve, will throw that curve off. So, but overall, still think he's really good. Well,
yeah, I don't know. I think I was originally ready to dismiss this card because I'm sorry. Nobody outside of elemental decks is going to run this. They might try, but it's not going to work out for them. This is really a card for elemental decks. And then I think it was Kibler, I think, who made the comparison to Twilight Guardian. And I'm like, okay, he's kind of right. This is kind of the Twilight Guardian for elemental decks. It's not an elemental, which means you're right. It is going to throw off your curve. But if you need a 4-cost taunt minion to get down there that's really sticky, that pushes things off and throws things off for your opponent, Tol'Vir Stoneshaper is the card for you, and probably why you want to run him. And as far as throwing off his curve, that's your curve. That's kind of the big risk you have to take sometimes with elemental decks. You're not going to be able to stay on curve forever. That's the thing. Sometimes you're going to have to respond to your opponent's board, which means you're going to have to go off curve, which means you might not be able to play what you want to play next turn. You're just going to have to try ramping up again. But that's kind of the risk you have to take. That means you're going to have to use your coin wisely to get out a fire elemental, a firefly or something at the right time, and that's just what you're going to have to do with this deck, with these type of decks. It's not a bad card. It's a pretty good card, and we'll see if elemental decks want to run him, but I would expect that they'll try to at least run one of him, if not two of him.
Oh yeah.
So next up, we have Hydrologist, which is a 2-cost 2/2 Paladin minion, which is also a Murloc, with the battle cry, discover a secret. Now, as of the time that we are recording this, Paladin only has 3 more cards to reveal. So any of those cards could push this into the good category. However, Eddie, I'm going to say it is not likely. I think this card is a bad card for 2 reasons. Number 1, all of the Murloc synergy that Paladin had and really pushed a Paladin Murloc deck is leaving in this expansion. You're not going to have you're no longer going to have any finish. I think is it
every any fin can happen.
Anything can happen. You're not going to have any fin, and you're not going to have you're no longer going to have Murloc Knight. Which for me were the 2 big pushers for a Paladin Murloc deck. They kind of, for me, if you want to go pure Murloc, made Paladin the class to pick. We're losing all that synergy. All the Murloc synergy is going to Shaman. Any of the Murloc synergy that Shaman has left is pretty weak and middling. You're really not going to pull off what you used to. And also the fact that Paladin doesn't have a lot of... I'm not going to say Paladin has bad secrets, because Paladin has some very good situational secrets. But Paladin doesn't have a lot of... Paladin's also losing all of its secret Paladin synergy. It's losing the last of the major buff secrets and competitive spirit. Competitive spirit is leaving, and mysterious challenger is leaving. So everything that would make up a secret Paladin deck is leaving, and I don't really see anything that could come out that could basically initiate a new brand of secret Paladin. Paladin just doesn't have the secrets to really push that right now. Everything that needs is in Wild. Everything it needs for Murlocs is in Wild, or going to Wild. Hydrologist is just coming out at the wrong time. Which means, in Standard, this card is absolutely useless. In Wild, however, this card rocks! Because if you want to run competitive spirit or whatever for your Murlocs, you can maybe discover a secret, or discover any secret, like Avenge, or whatever. You don't even need to run it, you get it. And it'll be great for your Murloc deck. If you're running Secret Paladin, it's an additional secret to you. Maybe something that you don't have in hand right now, and you can just put up immediately, because Paladin secrets cost 1. In Wild, this is an amazing card, but in Standard, I am sorry, this card is bad.
Yeah, I have to give it to you there. Like, given right now what we see, unless there's some kind of big, amazing secret that they're keeping behind the walls, which I highly doubt, for Standard, I'm not the biggest fan of Hydrologist. Basically, as you stated, with everything. I mean, yeah, sure, it's a... If we want to make the argument, or at least if I can at least attempt to make the argument, sure, it's a 2-cost 2/2 without the Divine Shield that shielded Minibot got, and, oh, looky there, I get a secret. Cool. That's nice and fine and all. But really, as far as secrets go, right now, I mean, yeah, there's a good chunk that are rotating out. And then there are the ones that stayed core, but, like, out of it, it's like, I want, like, Noble Sacrifice, maybe Redemption, maybe Repentance. I mean, it would just depend on what would pop up. And, like, I mean, you never know. You may get Eye for an Eye. You may get Getaway Kodo. Who knows? But, like, when it comes to Standard, it just does not work. Wild, that's where you're going to live. That's where this card will thrive. So, like, go crazy. Go ham. Please, take it into Wild and cherish it. Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
There. Alright. The next card is the Caverns Below. It is the Rogue Quest. You play 4 minions with the same name, and you get the reward Crystal Core. The Crystal Core is, when you play it, all minions become 5/5. Now, when this card first dropped, there was a lot of confusion with it, because it was just like, well, if I do this, does it make my card a 5/5? Do I start out as a 5/5? And just all sorts of questions. And I did some personal digging to be able to look around. And I found the answers for the Caverns Below. Now, you're going to try to play your 4 minions with the same name, get them out, get this quest off. If you decide to play Edwin Van Cleef before you cast the Crystal Core, whatever stats he has at that time, they become 5/5 if he is on the board. Anything else that's left on board also becomes a 5/5. If you hex a creature on my board with the Crystal Core active, it is a 5/5 frog. If you sheep something on my board, it is a 5/5 sheep. If you decide to hold on to your Edwin Van Cleef in hand, play the Caverns Below, and then start the crazy combo. You can drop out Edwin Van Cleef. He starts out as a 5/5 and then grows from there. Same thing goes with Cthulhu. If you start out by, like, I'm going to drop my Cthulhu minions, and then I'm going to play the Cavern Below, your Cthulhu goes back to being a 5/5 if he's in the deck. But
don't say back to. Cthulhu starts out as 6/6. There's no way you're going to play. There's no way you're going to play Cthulhu with Caverns Below. If you are, you're an idiot.
I'm just mainly explaining that part of it, but you get where the point is where this is concerned.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So explanation given.
Better one would have been a questing adventurer, because again, anybody plays Cthulhu with this, they deserve to kind of have the Cthulhu go down.
Yeah, and if anything, like questing adventurer, starting as a 2/2, it gets buffed up to a 5/5, and then you can just start playing it, and it just starts going crazy. It's gonna be hard as hell to deal with. So, personally, I think people are sleeping on the Caverns Below, and you and I have talked about this off recording about the Caverns Below. I think people are sleeping on it. I'm hoping I can make my deck idea work, especially given the next card coming up that we get to discuss. So, like, if anything, I'm just going to pass it to you.
Well, first off, I need to apologize to another legendary again. My apologies to Sherazin Corpse Flower. Now, I did say Sherazin was playable. I thought he was going to be a niche card. I no longer think that. After I saw Caverns Below, my first thought was for Sherazin. I think Sherazin's a very good card now. I really do. I think he's scary because of what Caverns wants to do. Now, Eddie and I have agreed going into this, we do not want to go too much into the possibilities with Caverns Below, because we have been, I think, theory crafting possible decks between ourselves, and we kind of agree that if we're right on this card, that this could be a meta-defining deck, this could be a scary deck, and to be fair, if we can get this deck to work, we do not want to share our deck list with anybody, because we'd like to kind of keep this one to ourselves. So, we're throwing out some of the possibilities you can do. We're not going to throw out the best way to build a Caverns Below deck, because we've already talked about this, and we think it's very possible, and it's going to be very strong. And I'm going to also outright say right now that I have to apologize to Sharazin Corpseflower, because he's going to be a major part of this deck. not Miracle. I think Miracle Rogue is still going to try to run him, but probably not going to find a home there. I think he's going to find a home in this deck. And a 5/5 flower that keeps on coming back is a heck of a lot harder to remove than a 5/3 flower. And so yeah, this is I think it's a meta-defining card. I don't think people understand how scary this deck can be. I'm not sure if a lot of rogues are going to explore the space, because I don't think they understand. I think they need to. I think in order to fully explore the design space this card gives you, you have to throw out a lot of your preconceptions about what makes a good card and what makes a good deck, and basically what cards are needed. Because there have been even some cards where Eddie's like, I can play this, and I go, Eddie, why would you play this when you can play this? And it does the same thing, and he's like, oh wow! Because in order to really appreciate this, you have to throw out the rulebook, and it's an incredible card when you really think about it. I'm not sure if I'm excited on the same level as Eddie. I'm not sure if I really want to build. I'm back and forth on this card. I know if I get it, I will build a deck. But as far as other quests, I'm not sure if it's I will craft it if I don't get it. I'm not sure if I'm there yet with this card. But
if anything, I was going to say, just right out, there's still stuff to be revealed for Rogue.
Oh, not only Rogue, but also neutrals. I really think you need to be turning your attention to neutrals here. This is a mana-defining card, this is a huge card, and this is a very important card. So yes, guys, do not sleep on this. At least think about this card. If you get it, think about the possibilities. This is not a dust card.
Yeah, you've got to really get out of the mindset and kind of like really get into your deck building mindset, because this thing,
this thing basically looks at you and says everything you know is wrong. A lot of people are saying, well, you're not going to get Crystal Core out. Guys, I can guarantee that if I ran this deck, I can probably get Crystal Core out turn 4 with the coin or turn 5. I can get Crystal Coin out very, very soon. Heck, if I had the right cards in hand, I might be able to get Crystal turn, because I talked to Eddie. I'm pretty sure I can complete this quest by turn 2, turn 3 at the latest. And there's also another possibility. If you complete the quest turn 2, you might also be able to get Crystal Core out turn 3 if you have a preparation. And I need to stop talking.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. Like, there's so much that you can do, and you've got to get out of the. Well, this is Rogue's identity. You've got to get out of that mindset.
Not only this is Rogue's identity, but these are good cards for this reason, this reason, this reason, because this deck is going to crap all over that.
Like, you've got to think not just surface level. You've got to go deeper.
Oh my word!
So, Paul, move on to
Mimic Pod. 3 cost rogue, 3 cost rogue, 3 cost rogue. Spell, draw a card, then add a copy of it to your hand. Now, with Caverns Below, you're probably going to run a Thistletea, I think 1, but you're definitely going to run 2 Mimic Pods. It's a lot better. It's essentially a really good draw card for Rogue. It's in line with Arcane Intellect, only you're getting 2 copies of a certain card, and this is going to be very good for you to complete the Caverns Below. And besides that, it's just going to be very good for Rogue in general. So.
Oh yeah, being able to just draw a card. I got a copy of it. Woohoo! Depending on what it is, like, especially if it's another Sharazin, just Sharazin. Oh no, it's went dormant. Just pop up 2 of them again. Laugh, run. I love it. It just gives you so many ideas. So, are you good there?
I'm good.
Alright. The next card is Tol'Vir Warden. It is a 5-cost, 3/5 Hunter rare with the battle cry, draw 2 1-cost minions from your deck. Now, I believe we have talked... Actually, no, we haven't.
We haven't. That's still to come.
It is still to come. So, if anything, like, for those of you who actually have gotten to see the new Hunter stuff that has basically just been kind of, like, falling out the last few days, with Tol'Vir Warden, he's going to be good for you to be able to just yank those cheap 1-cost minions out of the deck. I really like him. And I really like the way and where they're taking Hunter from here on. I'm incredibly excited for it. With this, you're going to be more or less looking to potentially play either the new quest with him, or you're going to be potentially looking for, like, mid to late to also be able to just throw on quick minions on the board just to be able to flood it. So, with Tol'Vir, I think you're probably going to run 1 of him in your decks, so, bulb.
Yeah, this is really a card for the Hunter quest, for the new Hunter type deck, which I wish we we're gonna get to this eventually, so we really can't go deep into this card. But yes, I agree with Eddie that this is a one-of card, because either while you're trying to complete the quest, you're not gonna have too many of these, so this will draw out the last few you need to complete the quest, or you're not gonna want to draw out too many of your 1-cost raptors after you've completed the quest. But this is going to be a very important card, I think, for that deck type, for that Raptor Hunter deck type. So I don't think a lot of people dismissed it when it came out, but after the quest was revealed, yeah, this is going to be a very important card in that deck archetype. I don't think any other Hunter deck will really run him, but other than that, yeah, very good, very cool card. So, up next, we have Glacial Shard. Now, Glacial Shard is a 1-cost, 2/1 elemental with the battle cry, freeze an enemy. Not bad. Elemental decks need these low-cost elementals to help proc up better elementals, and we were talking about, well, what if you have to play off your elemental curve and lose that synergy? Well, that's why you need cards like Glacial Shard and cards like Firefly and whatever your other 1-drops are. I think each of the elemental classes will probably have a 1-drop elemental. That's why you need these things to get you back on task. Either to play it at the beginning of the next turn or play it alongside your off turn. That way you're not entirely off. And Glacial Shard has a pretty cool ability. And I think it's definitely going to see play.
We gonna make Shatter viable, boys! Woohoo! I joke, if anything, because it's like, I know, if anything, it's not gonna make Shatter actually useful for people. I could be wrong. Please, someone prove me wrong. Please, I beg of you. But now that I've gotten the goofy part out of the way, let me get to the serious part. Glacial Shard, really good 1-drop. It's balanced in not only stats, but also its ability to be able to just freeze a minion real quick. I like it. So, are we good on the Glacial Shard?
Other than saying that, yeah, that could make Shatter viable if you're going in Elemental Mage, but I think it's just a very good ability overall.
Oh, yeah. So next up we have Curious Glimmerroot. It is a 3-cost, 3/3 Priest exclusive. With the battle cry, look at 3 cards. Guess which one started in your opponent's deck to get a copy of it. Whew. I looked at this card when it first was revealed, and I read it, and it took me a minute because I'm like, wait. I get to look at 3 cards and try to figure out which one may have started in my opponent's deck. I can get a copy of it. Now, depending on what type of deck my opponent is playing, this card makes you think on deeper levels than just your surface. Because, like, when it comes to this Glimmerroot, at this point, if you want to include it in any of your meta decks going forward, this requires you to be able to know your meta deck game going forward. And you have to be a studier and a knowledge individual when it comes to knowing what's going to be in your opponent's, or at least potentially be in your opponent's deck. Now, if you pick wrong, well, it's just, oh, I got to look at 3 cards. One of those might be in my opponent's deck. And you just move on. But if you pick right, getting a copy of it, it's like, ooh, neat. So, I mean, yes, it's a different sort of wonky in thought steal, but really, if you're able to do the prediction game right, this card's good. So, well,
yeah, it's now one thing they have said are that the cards that they're going to show you are class cards. You're never going to see neutrals from this. So it's going to show you 3 class cards, only one of which started out in your opponent's deck. And you have to figure out which one. That does limit the pool a little bit, but that still is going to be difficult. If it's a common one, you could probably say it's probably this. But yeah, this is going to test your meta knowledge a little bit, especially since I think Priest is going to go in a whole lot of different directions after this expansion. It's going to test your meta knowledge a little bit, and this is also a chance for you to really get a glimpse and try to see what your opponent is playing. So either you guess right, and for sure you know that your opponent has this in their deck. Sometimes it's going to be easy, sometimes not so much. Or that you'll get a glimpse that, okay, it's not this. I know he does not have this for sure, and it's one of these 2. Again, just something like that can give you a whole lot of information. So this is a more complex card than it initially seems. It's actually a pretty good card, a pretty cool card, I think, that I think certain types of Priest decks will want to run. And in general, I didn't think of this until I watched Kibler's card review on Curious Glimmerroot, and I think this is an interesting concern. What's Blizzard going to do when it comes to the tournaments with this card?
oh!
What do you do if people? Because if they don't change how the tournaments are run, there's no reason if you're playing a Priest deck not to include this card in your deck, because it's a free card every single time. Because they know the deck lists.
Oh man, I didn't really pay attention or even think of that. Oh, that is just interesting.
I'm not sure what Blizzard's going to do with this or what they're thinking is. I don't think they thought about tournaments so much, but with tournaments, this card takes on an entirely different use, which is I just get a free thing, which is not bad necessarily, but it does take away from the whole identity of the card. And I think Kibler's right. I don't think Blizzard is going to change their tournament format just because of this card. So
oh, yeah, no way.
I don't think there's going to be any tournament Priest player who's not going to include this card in their deck, or 2 copies of this card in the deck, just to get free stuff. So yeah, it's a very good card. I think Priest is going to go in so many different directions. I don't think it's an auto include unless you're playing a tournament. But it's still a pretty good card that Priest is definitely going to want to consider when they're building their decks.
Oh yeah.
So now, everybody, it's time to get up. It's time to get up and get off the floor, because everybody, let's talk about Volcanosaur, a 7-cost, 5/6 beast with a battle cry. Adapt, then adapt. A lot of people are crying about why doesn't it just say adapt twice or whatever. There's nothing. They just Blizzard said they said it thought it looked cooler. There's actually another theory saying that this just might be a graphic typography thing, that just the graphics department says, guys, we don't want to do this because it needs to look a certain way. Either way, you just adapt twice. Got it? Everybody's going to be getting, if you log in on the 5th, you will get a golden version of this card. I'm not sure what to think. Part of me says I want to put this in a deck somewhere. I'm not sure where. I'm not sure if it will work. And I think that's what makes it so problematic. Yeah, it adapts twice, but I can't think of any deck right now I kind of want to put it in there, because it won't be the star of the deck. So you'll start to wonder why it's in there in the first place, and that just might be taking up space. It's interesting. 5/6 for 7. It's going to adapt twice. It's going to be a powerful threat. It's probably going to be a finishing card. But again, I'm just trying to figure out. Will Hunter run it? I think Hunter is either going to want to be going quicker, or they're going to have another win con. I mean, to be fair, it does kind of sit in the middle between Savannah Highmane and Call of the Wild, so maybe that will work, but you already have a finisher in the form of Call of the Wild. You don't need 2 finishers in the deck. I don't think Beast Druid will run it, if Beast Druid is even a thing. What I called at one point Dino Hunter might have considered running it, but again, there's already a lot of very big dinos, and I might just like them better. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Including, I think, Swamp King Dread is the exact same cost. And then there was my idea of, I was playing around with the idea of what I called a natural selection deck, which messed around with evolve, devolve, and adapt. I'm not even sure how that deck's going to work, or if that deck's going to work, and this just might just be too big for it. So it's one of those. It's an interesting card that you want to include, Eddie, but I just think it's too clunky to include.
I agree. Like, I really do. I look at Volcanosaur and I'm just like, okay, yes, I could potentially stealth and Wind Fury you. Now, if anything, I'm looking also at Wild and I see, Bran, Volcanosaur, 4 adapts. That's pretty nutty. But, I mean, it's not really something that I'm not... Okay, it's Volcanosaur. Cool. Can I move on? Essentially.
Yeah.
So, if anything, next up we have Gluttonous Ooze. It is a 3-cost, 3/3 epic with the battle cry: destroy your opponent's weapon and gain armor equal to its attack. Thank you! At this point, that's all I can really say is just thank you! Yes, having something like Acidic Swamp Ooze to be able to just drop onto the board and just go, no, and destroy my opponent's weapon. That's great! Like, don't get me wrong, but having another ooze, or at least another thing that when I destroy my opponent's weapon, it actually be bloody fucking useful? Give me Gluttonous Ooze. It works. And I can already look at it and see that this will be one of the high-end tech cards potentially sitting alongside your Acidic Swamp Ooze as something to just still keep trying to stomp the Pirate Warrior into the grave. I like it. I love it. And I want some more of it. Gimme! Bob, go.
Hello, Acidic Swamp Ooze replacement. How are you? There's all. It replaces Acidic Swamp Ooze. It kind of replaces Harrison Jones. Of course, I guess it just depends on whether you want to keep a Harrison Jones anymore. It could be useful in its own right, but I'm just going to call it. A lot of people are going, well, you want... It's like, this is bad because, you know, Acidic Swamp Ooze costs 1 less and it's better. Guys, when was the last time you really played Acidic Swamp Ooze on turn 2? If you're going up against a Pirate Warrior, normally they don't have the weapon you want to get rid of on turn 2, and a lot of decks are running 1 Acidic Swamp Ooze. You have to know when's the best time to drop the sucker. Okay? So you have to know when the best time to drop the sucker is, and then you have to drop it. A lot of times when you are dropping your Acidic Swamp Ooze, you are dropping him after turn 2, which means you're dropping him turn 3 or later, which means why wouldn't you replace him with a Gluttonous Ooze, who does the exact same job and gives you armor, gives you additional health to stand up against aggro decks. If you're not playing Pirate Warrior, then you know what? You probably want to hold it off for another weapon anyway, because they're playing a slower type of deck, and you just play it at the right moment. I'm seeing no downsides to replacing Acidic Swamp Ooze with Gluttonous Ooze. At all.
I agree, but I also want to throw out that the other time you would throw out your Acidic Swamp Ooze on turn 2 is when your warrior decides to go coin, fire your axe, and then just sit. So I just go, Ooze, bye. Because anymore, when I see warrior, I'm holding on to my Acidic Swamp Ooze, or at least my weapon destroying card. Because, go ahead, try to build that up. I'm just going to nuke it. Because, no, I'm not letting you get that. And plus, like, with Ooze, this new one, being able to, like mid to late game, you see that Arcanite Reaper come out. Oh no! Pirate Warrior has played Arcanite Reaper. Give me 5 health.
Yeah.
And fuck your weapon.
But again, your argument here is they coin out a Fiery War Axe on turn 1. Number 1, that's not Pirate Warrior. Number 2, if it is Pirate Warrior, they got a really bad start. You have the time to wait to Gluttonous Ooze that.
If anything, Bob, that is Pirate Warrior at times. Because of the start they've gotten. So, if anything, they can also go turn 2, they can go upgrade and then the South Sea Deckhand just to get 6 damage direct to face. If you don't destroy the weapon. So, plus being able to then go into turn 3 if you don't destroy their pirate, then being able to then drop the Bloodsail Corsair to be able to make it a 5 attack weapon and just watch that weapon keep ticking up. So there are reasons for being able to actually do the coin axe turn 1 for them.
Yeah.
So, and plus, it's also a control option.
I still think it's a lot better. I think, you know, Gluttonous Ooze just is going to replace Acidic Swamp Ooze, because we're talking about scenarios that are probably very rare depending on the deck you're facing.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then, you know, shrug it off, dude. By this point, you have enough control options that you can hold them off at least until you can get your Gluttonous Ooze out.
Oh yeah, you definitely do.
So up next, we have Mana Bind, which is a 3-cost mage secret that when your opponent casts a spell, you add a copy to your hand that costs 0. Me likey. I know there's a lot of people saying, well, it's garbage because your opponent will play off. Your opponent always tests out your secrets. So, yeah, but you get a 0-cost spell. you get a free spell. And a lot of times, even if your opponent... Sometimes your opponent plays around in secrets, but sometimes you catch them with their pants down. Every single time. Because they cannot afford to play around your secrets. You'd be surprised the amount of times I've used Counterspell to stop important opponent turns. So what happens if you have this out? Well, yeah, that goes off, but I think if you have this and Counterspell out, they go to cast it, it gets countered, you get it. Or you can just have this out. And this is I think, a very interesting card. I think this is going to be a really cool card. I'm really going to play around with this card because I like this card. A lot of people, I think, are dismissing it for the same reason they dismissed Mirror Entity. And probably that means it's not going to see a lot of play like Mirror Entity sees play. But then again, depending on what gets revealed from Mage, I'm not saying as far as there'll be something that'll go with this, but Mage kind of needs to kind of latch on to some new identity cards. We may see this being run a little bit more. For me, I'm excited. I'm going to run the crap out of this card. I know it's going to find a home in Randomonium. It's going to find a home in my spell damage deck. Because anything you can give me is much better when I have spell damage. And I am very excited. I'm excited to play this card. I don't know what the community will do with this card. Whether it will find a home eventually, but I really like this card. I'm really excited about this card. It's one of the few cards in this deck I'm actually excited about, and I want to get 2 copies of.
Oh, hell yeah. I want 2 copies of it as well, because it's just like, I am going to sit. I'm going to wait until about, I would say, mid to late game. Because that's where that viability will really start to sink in with it. Because, like, if you can get it to where your opponent, like, sure, they may test it out by playing coin. But that's a free coin for me. And I'm okay with that. Because come that mid to late game, I'm sitting on that 0-cost spell. Whatever it is that you played, I'm sitting on it. On turn 7, I can drop my Archmage Antonidius and then play the card that is sitting here in my hand, or cards that are sitting there in my hand that cost 0. Hi, 2 free fireballs. Come here. I like you. And just sit there and shuffle my hand and go, I've got 2 fireballs now. Go. So we good there?
Oh yeah, very excited about this one.
Next up, we've got Vilespine Slayer. It's a rogue epic. That's a 5-cost, 3/4 combo. Destroy a minion. Assassinate and a body? Well, I'll be damned. If anything. Like, I can see the viability of Vilespine Slayer. Because going into that mid to late game, being able to just combo out and just be able to kill, especially if, like, for some reason, for some unknown god reason, you get this from Thistletea, just all of being able to control my opponent's board of just kill, 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 kill. And plus, if anything, let's take a look at this in also the arena sense, because I haven't mentioned arena very much or very often this whole run. This is something that's nice. Arena. Because just combo, kill. Whoa.
I'm kind of torn on this one. A lot of people are going, yay, you can kill a minion and keep this. But here's the thing. It's a combo. Which means you're not going to play this on turn 5. Hey, you know what you can play on turn 5 that destroys a minion? An Assassinate. Which, by the way, is probably much better than this minion. If you just want to straight up kill a minion. And that's not being ran nowadays, which I have no idea why. Maybe because Rogue can just go whole ham. I mean, if you were fully confident in your ability to constantly be able to combo this card and kill a minion, sure, why not? I'm not sure about his stats. I'm not sure about his combo ability. You know, hypothetically, You kill a minion, get another minion. That's okay, but for me, I keep on looking at the cost, which is the exact same as Assassinate. I then looked at it as a combo. I'm just going, eh. I think Rogue's going to play it, but still, I'm just going, eh. I think there are better combo pieces. I think Rogue has better tools to outright kill things. That if Assassinate's not getting played, why do you think an Assassinate with a body that has to be comboed will get played? I think we get played because people just haven't thought of it like that, but I think it's going to be a lot harder to pull off than just simply assassinating somebody. And you're not going to be putting this in your Caverns Below deck.
Oh god, no.
So you're not going to be putting in Caverns Below. Would you be putting this in? Would you be putting this in Miracle when Assassinate would be so much better with what Miracle does? I don't know. Maybe.
I say depends because of just varying outcomes and things like that.
I mean,
but like Miracle,
unlike Assassinate, they're not going to be able to discount this.
With Assassinate, like I can understand where people say, well, it's too slow to run, and then it's just like, oh look, I assassinate and I kill minion and cool. It's
too slow to run, but yet we want to run Vilespine Slayer. The crap? Like I said, I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's meh. I'm just looking at the comparisons and going, doesn't Rogue already have some cards that kind of do this and do it better? Yeah, they're not all rolled into one, but then again, this has a higher cost than people are thinking because it's not just 5 mana. It's not just 5 mana. It's like with Inspire, you had to think of it being. You had to think of the cards being costing 2 more than they really were. And with this, it's not just 5 mana. You're going to be paying 6 mana at the very least, or having to be doing some interesting card maneuvering. Will this see play? Maybe. Could I be wrong about the impact? I think that if it's played a lot, it could have a huge impact. But I'm just looking and going, guys, you're just missing other cards that do the job better, but you're salivating over this. I don't get it.
It's people, man. People are hard as hell to understand sometimes.
I know I'm not going to be running that, but that's just me. Next up, we have Living Mana, which is a 5-cost druid spell that transforms your mana crystals into 2/2 minions, and then you recover the mana when they die. I'm trying to stop myself from saying this is a bad card. But all my instincts say this is a bad card. I guess for Token Druid or for certain types of Druid, you can use this as a finisher with Savage Roars in the next turn. But people have been posting lists of everything, and I know that's dangerous because there's a lot of things that can beat every card. But the fact of the matter is that your mana is not going to recover. If you cast this on a full board, on an empty board, you're losing 7 mana crystals, and let's just assume you're doing this on turn 10. You're losing 7 mana crystals. You're stuck with 3 mana crystals for the rest of the game. It doesn't come back. If they happen to devolve or silence or do whatever to those mana crystals, and then get rid of them, those 7 mana crystals will never come back. This is a huge risk for a class that likes to run big, bulky, scary things.
And likes to ramp.
And likes to ramp. This is a huge risk. And while I know that just saying, well, here's this list of cards that can beat them, and that not everybody's going to be running these. I'm sorry, they won't. This is not going to cause a resurgence of people running Mass Dispel or people running Devolve or whatnot. But the fact of the matter is, there are so many ways to negate you getting these mana crystals back, that this makes this a very scary risk. If you can pull this off for a late game finisher, all the more power to you. But I'm just thinking this is too big a risk for the community in general. This is too big of a risk. This is a risky card. I don't think it's going to see play.
I saw it. I'm like, oh man, this card is fucking garbage. I'm just gonna call it what it is. It's garbage. I mean, come on. It's like, yeah, sure. Looky here, I can play Token Druid, I can do this, and I can do that with it. Yes, there is that potential for it. But, as you stated, if my opponent decides to, like, devolve, or, like, vanish, or something like that, I'm sitting here with no mana now. Or at least starting back at square one in a class that likes to ramp. Yes, I can do it quickly. Yes, I can potentially go and do crazy things with it. But there's way too much out there to be able to just screw me royally. Like, I'm even taking a look at this card, and I'm going, if for some reason I get this card with my Yogg-Saron, I very may well shit my pants because it's like, uh-oh, this could end badly. Especially if he doesn't Twisting Nether, or if he decided to go, I'm going to play Living Mana, and then, boop, we're going to evolve. It's like, oh god, Yogg, there went my mana. There went my, potentiality to be able to just salvage this game entirely. Card is garbage. Do not play.
At all. Well, that does it for this time. We actually went a little bit over time. So, tune in next time. We're going to talk about a lot more cards. See you next time.